The project came about some years ago, actually, when we started early discussions with the finance team at HRP over a 4-year period until the project came live earlier this year. The brief was left fairly open to us. What we were given were sketch proposals that had been developed by Carden and Godfrey. In a sense, our brief was to bring those to life. It was a whole-scale renovation and reordering of the chapel, and probably the biggest since Henry VIII made his sweeping changes in the 1500s. We've worked with an enormous number of churches and cathedrals, and that puts us in a position of understanding. We've designed the furniture to last for the next 50 to 100 years. That was always in our minds when we were looking at all of the joints and junctions and the engineering of the furniture.
We've done quite a few projects where we have done a whole interior of a church or a chapel, like St Mary's March, for example. And I think that's a great resource to pull on, because you can go, you can imagine what people are going to be doing with each piece of furniture and how it needs to function.
English oak certainly felt to be the right material. The Tower have a policy of using native materials where possible. It's a natural policy to have for them. It's a building of historical significance. Using a material that would have traditionally been used for generations felt, certainly in this instance, felt like the right thing to do.
Where English oak tends to be more beautiful is actually the product of poor woodland management. With English woodlands, you tend to have a lot more open woodlands, so a lot more light coming in from the sides, and then you get these little pinpricks, and that creates little swirls in the grain, little flecks of colour, and that actually makes, to my mind, a more interesting piece of oak to look at. We don't often get to see the end product of where our timber ends up, because it goes off through various contractors, furniture makers, and we don't ever really see what it's turned into and where it is. So it's really nice to see pictures of the end product. The Tower of London and the woodwork in it will be a real testament to what you can do with English oak.
It felt right to be designing it in our studio here in Covent Garden, 3 miles from the Tower, and for all of the furniture to be made by specialists around the country, using techniques that aren't hugely dissimilar to those that would have been used all those years ago. The reaction has been unanimously fantastic. Everyone's been really excited, and the important thing to remember about the Tower is it is a living community there, and everyone was enormously excited, and on the day we delivered, we had members of the community come in and gaze at the furniture, and everyone has been hugely complimentary, and it's certainly been very well accepted by the community at the Tower.
The impact of the new furniture is that it raises the quality of the environment inside the chapel. Previously, a lot of the furniture was kind of deteriorated, and it didn't speak of the status that chapel has. And now it does. It's sung of quality. It just looks amazing.
50 years ago, some really good people had come here and done a lot of hard work in setting up the chapel. But over that 50 years and over 1 million visitors a year coming through the chapel, it had taken a severe wear and tear on every aspect of this particular chapel of St Peter ad Vincula. So the idea was to raise 1.5 million to replace all the furniture within the chapel and to ensure that the shrine was at a really high standard for visitors and pilgrims who want to come. The chapel is looking beautiful now. All the new furniture will enable us to worship God and to first and foremost have a place of worship that is of a really high standard, but also to be able to facilitate the million or so visitors that come through the chapel who want to hear all about the history of people like Anne Boleyn, Queen Catherine Howard and Lady Jane Grey, who are all buried within the chapel. All the furniture now is beautiful English oak. And what's really significant about this is that every piece of furniture, from the choir stalls, the altar, the chairs, the altar rails, the lectern, are all made from the same wood. What happened before was that, as I say, in about 1965, every piece of wood was a different colour, a different type, and there was no harmony within the place. So for the very first time now, you walk in and there's a real sense of complete harmony within the place. I think secondly, one would want to say that the standard is incredibly high. It's beautiful, it's absolutely stunning. Both parishioners and visitors come in. The wood feels, as they sit on the chairs, as they sit on them, feels very comfortable and of a really high quality. And as you look at the engravings, the beautiful carvings that have been done on the end of the choir stalls, that again lifts the standards and has set a real tone within the place, which was sadly missing before. As a place of worship, we're setting it up for the next 50 years. We want to leave a legacy behind here where people can come and worship on Sunday, during the weekdays, for weddings, for baptisms, for carol services. I think that ties in very closely with our mission and hope for the future, that the church will still be here in years to come and flourishing.